Forever could never be long enough for me to feel like I've had long enough with you. Forget the world now, we won't let them see. But there's one thing left to do. Now that the weight has lifted, love has surely shifted my way. Marry me today and every day. If I ever get the nerve to say hello in this cafe, say you will. Say you will. Together could never be close enough for me to feel like I am close enough to you. You wear white and I wear out the words I love you, and you're beautiful. Now that the wait is over, and love has finally showed her my way. Marry me today and every day. Say hello in this cafe, say you will. Say you will. Promise me you'll always be happy by my side. I promise to sing to you when all the music dies. And marry me today and every day. Marry me if I ever get the nerve to say hello in this cafe, say you will. Say you will.
I can see things are changing. I don't mind if they do. There's a reason for everything, and the reason is you. I can hear the music calling. I hope it will call forever. When I see you smile, I get so nervous. When you are smiling, I may appear strong, but under the surface, I'm feeling nervous. Babe, I'm a wreck. My heart can be broken. My greatest fear is out in the open. I'm falling with style. Just takes one look. Baby, I'm hooked when I see you smile. When I see you smile. Ooh. Baby, I'm not complaining, but all the plans that I made are up in the air. I don't care. I guess they'll just have to wait. When I see you smile, I get so nervous. When you're smiling, I may appear strong, but under the surface, I'm so nervous. Babe, I'm a wreck. My heart can be broken. My greatest fear is out in the open. I'm falling with style. It just takes one look. Baby, I'm hooked when I see you smile. This heart I fought so hard to hide. So many times it had been denied. But all my fears just disappear when I look in your eyes, yeah.
Of love is long and boring. No one can lift a damn thing. It's full of charts and facts and figures and instructions for dancing. But I love it when you read to me, and you can read me anything. The book of love has music in it. In fact, that's where music comes from. Some of it's just transcendental. Some of it's just really dumb. But I love it when you sing to me, and you can sing me anything. The book of love is long and boring, and written very long ago. It's full of flowers and heart-shaped boxes and things we're all too young to know. But I love it when you give me things, and you ought to give me wedding rings, and I love it when you give me things, and you ought to give me wedding rings. You ought to give me wedding rings.
gives this woman to this man?
Her mother and I do.
True marriage is more than joining the bonds of marriage of two people. It is the union of two hearts. It lives on in the love you give each other and never grows old, but thrives on the joy of each new day. Marriage is love. May you always be able to talk things over, to confide in each other, to laugh with each other, to enjoy life together, and to share moments of peace and quiet at the end of the day. May you be blessed with a lifetime of happiness and a home of warmth and understanding. There are two special women here today who are loved. They were both instrumental in creating this union. It is with love and respect that Christine and Brandon wish to honor them.
Love itself is what is left over when being in love is burned away. And this is both an art and a fortunate aspect. Those that truly love have roots that grow towards each other underground. And when all the pretty blossoms have fallen from the branches, they find that they are one tree and not two.
Do you, Brandon, promise Christine that you will be her husband from this day forward, to be faithful and honest in every way, to honor the faith and trust she places in you, to love and respect her in her successes and failures, to make her laugh and to be there when she cries, to care for her in sickness and in health? Do you promise to be her companion and her friend in this journey that you are making together?
I do.
Christine, do you promise Brandon that you will be his wife from this day forward, to be faithful and honest in every way, to honor the faith and trust he places in you, to love and respect him in his successes and his failures, to make him laugh, and to be there when he cries, to care for him in sickness and in health? Do you promise to be his companion and his friend in this journey that you are making together?
I do.
Wonderful Father, out of all the world you have brought Christine and Brandon together to learn the meaning of love for each other. Let them never fail to grow in the experience of this love. Let the flame of their love burn strongly, and should it dim, let them have the wisdom to rekindle it. Make known to them, Father, that their romance does not depend on time or place, but upon the daily relationships that renew and expand the larger possibilities that each has within himself and love itself creates. Teach them to remember the little courtesies of the open heart, to be swift and to speak the grateful and forgiving words, to tolerate each other's weaknesses, to believe happily in each other's best, and to face life together bravely with your guidance. Joel, may we have the rings? You want to take them?
Oh, sorry.
These rings are the symbol of unity. These two lives are to be joined in one unbroken circle. Wherever they go, may they always return to one another in their togetherness. Brandon, as you place this ring on Christine's finger, will you repeat after me? I give you this ring.
I give you this ring
As a symbol of my love and faithfulness.
as a symbol of my love and faithfulness.
As I place it on your finger,
As I place it on your finger,
I commit my heart and soul to you.
I commit my heart and soul to you.
You may put it on. Christine, as you place this ring on Brandon's finger, will you repeat after me? I give you this ring
I give you this ring
as a symbol of my love and faithfulness.
as a symbol of my love and faithfulness.
As I place it on your finger,
As I place it on your finger,
I commit my heart and soul to you.
I commit my heart and soul to you.
In so much as this man and woman have pledged their faith and love to one another, in the sight of God and presence of these family and friends, now by the power vested in me by the state of Florida, I pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride.
And you play it coy, but it's kinda cute. Oh, when you smile at me, you know exactly what you do. Baby, don't pretend that you don't know it's true, 'cause you can see it when I look at you. And in this crazy life, and through these crazy times, it's you, you make me sing your every line, your every word, your everything. You're a carousel, you're a wishing well, and you light me up when you ring my bell. You're a mystery, you're from outer space, you're every minute of my everyday. And I can't believe that I'm your man, and I get to kiss you, baby, just because I can. Whatever comes our way, I will see it through, and you know that's what our love can do. And in this crazy life, and through these crazy times, it's you, you make me sing your every line, your every word, your everything. And in this crazy life, and through these crazy times, it's you, you make me sing your every line, your every word, your everything, your every song, and I sing along, 'cause you're my everything.
And now it's time for our bridesmaids and groomsmen. Let's say hello to Alicia Jensen, Jennifer Demos, escorted by Gage Griffin. Let's make some noise for Monique Brosu, escorted by William Richard. Give it up for Ashley Moore, escorted by Chris Lyman. Put your hands together for the maid of honor, Leslie Thompson, escorted by the best man, Joel Rice. All that we've all been waiting for. Please rise and show your love for our newest husband and wife, Mr. and Mrs. Brandon Jensen.
Watching you stand alone, all of my doubt suddenly goes away somehow. One step closer.
Let's give Mr. and Mrs. Jensen one more big round of applause.
We'd also really like to thank our parents who were very involved in this process. My dad too. So especially Jeannie and Mark, being kind of our boots on the ground on here, I know the night wouldn't have been the same without all of your help and support throughout all of this. So we really appreciate it. And Christine, all of the hard work that you put in and I helped a little bit with. And I just want to thank her and her parents and my parents as well, and all of you for making this a great night. We really appreciate it. So everybody have a fun night.
No, in all honesty, what I did to prepare for my speech was what any good millennial would do. I went to Google and I typed in Maid of Honor speech and spent a lot of time watching speeches on YouTube. And I found sort of like a very clear and concise pattern of how these speeches work. Since I have to follow a recipe to a T, I'm going to follow the Maid of Honor speech to a T as well. So they usually start off by introducing themselves. If you haven't figured out that I am the bride's sister, you probably wandered into the wrong wedding, but this one's going to be more fun than wherever you're supposed to be, so please do stay. So yes, I'm Christine's sister. I love her very much. I'm also her favorite sister, her only sister, so. All right, so after the introduction, they usually give a bit of thanks. I want to thank Christine and Brandon for not having their wedding in Minnesota in January in negative 40 degrees and for having it in Florida. And I'd like to thank Champagne for making this speech possible. All right, so now that we have sort of the formalities out of the way, the Maids of Honor of YouTube, they usually delve into sort of an embarrassing story about the bride. Since I was capped at like 4 minutes, I could have gone on all night long, but I had to choose one story. So before I get into the story, I did just want to talk a little bit about my childhood with Christine. We would laugh so hard when we were little that, well, we weren't allowed to sit next to each other in church. Car rides, even to the grocery store, would end up usually with my father being like, "Shut up, you two." Not because we were fighting, but because we were so loud and so obnoxious with our laughter. So that's something that I remember even to this day. We still laugh as hard as we did when we were kids, so it's pretty awesome. Okay, so the one embarrassing story I'm choosing to tell today is happened when we were in elementary school on a road trip to South Dakota and doing something what I like to call sister experiments. Christine, as a child, she slept-walked, she slept-talked, and she snored. So good luck, Brandon. So we were in South Dakota. She and I we were in the motel with my mom and my Aunt Catherine, who's here as well. She and I were sleeping in the same bed, and she was snoring. And I had heard somewhere that if you plug someone's nose when they're snoring, they're forced to open their mouth and breathe through their mouth, so they stop snoring. So I reached over, plugged her little nose. Instead of just opening her mouth and stopping snoring, she put her hand up. In deep sleep, she said, "No, don't make me drink it. Don't make me drink it." Okay, so that's enough torture for your childhood embarrassing story. So, needless to say, she really is the best sister I could have asked for. As I said, her childhood was filled with a lot of laughter. She was always sort of my makeup and hair guru, even to this day. She berated me a couple weeks ago because I was still using my mascara from Christmas. Apparently you're supposed to change your mascara out like more than once every 9 months, but I didn't know that, so thank you, Christine. Okay, so after the embarrassing stories, these Maids of Honor of YouTube, they usually talk about the first time they've met the groom. Our situation is, I guess, a little bit different just because I lived in a different country when these two met. So, I actually was there the moment they met because they went to high school together, but they reconnected at Ashley's wedding. Ashley gets a lot of credit for getting married and inviting these two to the wedding. Brandon was able to meet my dad even before they started dating, so got that hurdle out of the way. But the first time I met Brandon, so I didn't meet him at Ashley's wedding. So the first time I really met him was when they came to visit me in Italy after they had been dating for about 7 or 8 months, something like that. we kind of found out recently that I don't recall the first night. We met probably because of something called vino in Italian, but I do remember the second night. We had gone to Perugia, where I was living, and so contrary to popular belief, I lived in Italy for a long time. It was not a complete boondoggle. I had an actual job. I had to work 9 to 5. So we got to where I was living. I introduced them around to a bunch of my friends, sort of showed them the bars and sort of the hot spots of the town, and showed them the steps, which was sort of the meeting place of everyone. Everyone would sort of go and hang out on the steps at night. And then I left them to it. I said, have a great night. I gotta go to bed. I gotta get up early and work. Went back home, went to bed. At about 4 a.m., I heard the key rattle in the door, and these two stumble in. They're kind of stumbling down the hallway. And I woke up and I was like, well, I'll get up and welcome them and see how their evening went. So I get up, get out of my room and I see them at the end of the hallway, and first of all, it was like, I don't know, they've been caught by mom. They looked like 2 deer in headlights, like, oh my God, what did we do? So I proceeded to say oh, what'd you guys do? Where'd you go? Who'd you meet? And they looked at me, they looked at each other, they looked back at me, and they were like, we pretty much just made out on the steps all night long. And I was like, well, I left you guys at 11, it's now 4 a.m., so it's quite the makeout session. We found out later that actually wasn't true. I don't really know why they said that to me, but I don't know. Okay, so after the maid of honor during her speech talks about her first impression of the groom, she talks about the first time that she knew the groom was right for the bride. Again, since our situation is a bit unique, since I didn't live here and wasn't there every step of the way to sort of watch their relationship grow and mature, initially I was like, oh, maybe this, what am I going to say? But when I realized this was a really crucial spot of the speech, I knew instantly what I was going to say. And I knew it because when it happened, okay. When it happened, sorry. Okay, when it happened 3 years ago, I thought to myself, oh, he's the one for her. Okay, so here's the story. They came to visit me where I was living, and then they kind of went off for the week, traveled on their own, and then we were going to meet up in Rome for the weekend. So they had gone down ahead of me. It was 95 degrees, disgusting. They could not find the apartment. I'd rented an apartment for us to stay in for the weekend. They couldn't find it. It was awful. They went to the Sistine Chapel. Brandon fell asleep. It was just one folly after another when you hear of Americans traveling abroad sort of happened to these two. So I showed up. We were kind of getting ready to go to dinner or have drinks or whatever. And I was kind of around the corner in the kitchen. And I came around the corner, and she was sitting on the couch, and he was standing up, and I don't even know what they were doing, but they were making these really weird tiger noises to each other. She was going "Rawr" to him, and he was looking down at her going "Rawr." I don't really know, but they were just going back and forth, making these strange tiger noises. And for some reason, I just paused, and I really thought to myself in that moment, you really have to trust and, be really intimate with someone to be completely yourself. And when that was happening, I thought to myself, my God, she's found someone that she can unequivocally be herself with. She can sit on the couch and make these crazy tiger noises with him, and he can make them right back to her. So what's interesting, I'm sure you don't remember that moment, because what's interesting about that, though, however, is we had Christine's bridal shower in Minneapolis, and I did one of those bridal shower games where I listed a bunch of questions, emailed them to Brandon, and he had to answer them. There were questions about their relationship and about her, and questions like that. And one of the questions was, when did you know you loved her? And Brandon's answer was, when we made it through Italy in 90-degree heat. And when I asked Christine the same question at the bridal shower, when would Brandon say that he first fell in love with you? And she didn't even skip a beat, and she was like, Italy. So even though I haven't been there for, your lovely court trip, I really am happy that I feel like I was there when you guys actually fell in love. And I felt it too, because of that, even that strange Tiger moment. I really did feel something. I really thought like this is really it. Like this is the guy. And Roger even touched on it last night that, you know, when Brandon came back from Italy and Roger said to him like, well, how was the trip? You know, did you guys have any fights? And he said, we had 2 and they were quickly extinguished. So, you know, I feel like it speaks a lot, and I'm just really happy to have been able to share that with you guys. Sorry. Okay. So after sort of that little mushy thing, the girls on YouTube, they usually give some advice to the groom of how to deal with whoever they're passing off to him. So I don't know, you guys seem to be pretty compatible, but the only advice I really have is that if profiteroles are on the menu in any restaurant, no matter what the cuisine is, that's where you're having dinner. When So You Think You Can Dance is on, all other business must cease to exist. And if Christina's cooking and you want something other than chicken, you better go out to eat. But aside from all that, you are the most beautiful and wonderful sister I could ever have asked for. I love you both so much. I'm so happy you're my sister, and I'm so happy to call you my new brother. Love does not consist of gazing at each other, but in looking outward together in the same direction. To Christine and Brandon.
So happy to be a part of this with all of you. And unlike Lindsay, I didn't really Google anything. I just spent my summer singing a lot of karaoke to try to build up confidence to be able to speak in front of all of you. But I love you all, so just be patient with me as I go. Welcome to Florida, and I guess on behalf of the Jensens and the Thompsons, who've been both so amazing about accommodating everyone and creating all of this, I would like to say as Brandon's best friend and a part of the wedding party to thank you to all the parents that made this possible. So thank you, nice job everybody. Cheers to them. There we go. So I almost started off by bringing a whip because I'm actually surprised that Brandon and I are still friends, being that I forced him to go to horse camp with me when I was 10. He hates horses, and I used to collect My Little Ponies and Breyer horses, and everything that you could ride I was obsessed with. So Brandon ended up coming to Little Elk Ranch with me, hated every moment of it, and brought a bike helmet. Yeah. They gave him the smallest horse in the camp. His name was Ernie, actually. And Brandon would always have to be put last because Ernie was like one of those mean horses that just like bit people, like kick things. So it's like giving it to the kid that's scared of horses is not the nicest thing to do. So Brandon was like at the end, like whatever, he looked a little special. He had his bike helmet on and a whip. He might as well have been on a donkey, like, I don't know, but it was great. So I'm really happy that we're still friends. Meeting Brandon at the early age of 10 in 5th grade when I moved to Eden Prairie, we couldn't have been more different. I was into my hair, dancing, and horses. Brandon was into soccer and the Packers and his hair. Definitely his hair. Our friendship is and was really simple. I think both of us have a general respect for one another and the way that we live, and we respect our differences and make each other better because of that. We push each other to be greater. We became fast friends, and all of us ran in a pack. All of us, these boys sitting here next to me, people here, that table. Don't talk to them later. I remember thinking at one point that all of us were kind of like a pack of wolves running free, like stories of Huckleberry Finn and modern day cowboys and Indians with a lot more speeding tickets and detentions and stuff. But it was always out of good fun, and you know. We quickly became part of one another's families, and we grew into each other's lives with all of our friends. Any one of us could tell you stories and tales of of things that you would never, ever want your future children to ever do. Chris Vimmen, Will Richard, Gage, Ashley Benz, Alicia Baird, she bore the brunt of most of our poor decision making. Craig, Johnny, my sister, Laura Rochafer, Carrie, Jeff, Leslie Kellogg, Ashley, also known as Stems. You ask any of us a story or tell you a tale of when we were growing up together, it would turn your hair white. Look at my mom right over there. Yeah, it's happening. Looking around at dinner last night, it was so amazing to be surrounded by so many people that love you so much, that you have so much history with, and it's so comforting. You get nervous about these things, schedules and speaking and everything, and when it comes down to it, it's like, wow, like none of these people give a shit. Which is great, because to be loved that much, to be loved so deeply, it's just so beautiful, and I'm happy to be a part of that with both of you. Now, moving forward, even more so, the way that our circle of family friends is growing and the way that it continues to grow with marriages and kids and things like that, it makes me smile. Christine came into our lives fully when she and Brandon reconnected at the Ben's wedding, now the Moore, Ashley Moore. And you've grown into our hearts and memories, and I'm so happy to call you my sister in life, because that's what all of us are at the end of the day. We're siblings, we've raised each other, we've helped each other grow, and we're excited to have you a part of that for the rest of our lives, and for the parents in this room that raised us, it takes a village, it really does, to raise a group of people like this. Thank you. You love each other so much, and you make each other better. You really do. I could not ask for anything more for one of my best friends. I hope your home is always stocked with fitted sheets. That's a story you can ask Christine personally about. So the other day I was having coffee with a girlfriend of mine that I really respect, and we were just having coffee and talking, and I was smoking a lot of cigarettes and doing that whole thing, and she asked me, she said, what is your favorite simple comfort food to make? And I said, a poached egg with a little bit of salt. It's just so easy, it brings you back, it's great texture, great flavor, whatever. And she goes, well, that's not really simple at all. It's an unfertilized egg built out of billions of DNA strands that's sitting in a refrigerator, and it's been homogenized and these chugs and blah, blah. She's really liberal. And then she's salt isn't really simple either. It has to be, cleaned up and brought out and shipped out, and you choose the kind of salt that you want, and all this. And so at the end of the day, a poached egg with salt isn't really simple. And then we got down to the basics of the conversation, which essentially were, is simplicity really just the ability to be present and enjoy whatever moment you find yourself in? I don't know, could be. You have to completely saturate yourself in the experience and absorb it for what it is. I guess I thought of you guys right away because I was scrambling all week to think, I was well, I don't have a speech, so what could I sing? So I looked at Jill and I was that's it. That's exactly, if I could talk to Christine and Brandon about something that they could take with them for the rest of their lives, it would be that, I thought of you because you have to always enjoy the simple moments, because realistically, they're never simple. They're always beautiful, and I hope that you both live your lives like that, and they're always like a poached egg. So cheers to Christine and Brandon. I love you both.
We are very excited, very happy to have Brandon be part of our family, and I'm very excited to have him as my new son-in-law. My daughter Christine has intimated to me that she thinks I'm a little bit too excited to have him as my son-in-law, and I might want to tone it down a little bit. I just want to say that the things that I say about Brandon are not ethereal platitudes that I espouse out there. They are things that I have thought very carefully about as to why I'm excited to have him as my new son-in-law. I'd like to just share those with you to see if you would agree that these are valuable characteristics. Number 1, plays golf. Number 2, he drinks red wine. Number 3, he skis. Number 4, he's a nice guy. Number 5, he takes care of my daughter. And number 6, he loves my daughter. Now, I just want to make sure that I got this right and I read these in the right order in terms of priority. And golf was first, I got that. And then the red wine, and then the skiing. So I did a good job. I got all these down in the appropriate order of what I thought were most important. Seriously, Brandon, we are excited to have you in the family, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun. Being Christine's father for the last 30 years has been what I might call a roller coaster of emotions, is probably how I would describe it. And I'd like to just tell you 3 very, very short stories to maybe illustrate my point about this. But we really need to start at the beginning. The beginning, of course, is when Christine was born, and it had only been just a few days, and the euphoria was, of course, still there. Until my wife called me aside and she said, you know, you just had the birth of your second child, and I think it would be appropriate for you to sell your Porsche because I don't really deem it as a family car. Now, the ink wasn't even dry on the frickin' birth certificate, and the Porsche was gone. This is how it starts, okay? Now, it was a few years later, I think she was around 4, she got into dance. And I was at one of her first dance, well, it was her first of 7,246 dance recitals that I went to. But I was sitting in the audience, and she was, of course, 4 years old, up there on the stage, in her tutu, and dancing appropriately and in a perfect beat to the music at 4 years old, of course. And I'll tell you, my heart literally came out of my chest in excitement to see my little girl up there dancing around on the stage in her tutu. It's indescribable how excited I was to be able to see that. A few years later, I think she was around 5 then, she and I were home alone one day. Jeannie and Lindsay were off doing some things, and I was pushing her on the swing, and probably a little bit too hard, pushing her on the swing, and she fell off the swing and hit the ground and was stunned. And I will tell you, as a parent, when you see your motionless child on the ground with the swing continuing to go across her body, your heart absolutely stops inside your body. And as I stood there, and I'm sure it was only for a few moments, not knowing what to do, but I picked her up and held her, and of course she came to right away, and she let out one of the god-awful loudest screams I've ever heard in my entire life. I've never heard a scream that loud since, actually. So I rushed her to the hospital. She turned out she had a broken clavicle. And of course, you're a little kid, they heal pretty quickly. So they threw a brace on her. 3 or 4 weeks, she's back dancing and everything's fine. But this is just another example of this roller coaster of emotions that I was on with Christine. Last story. We were on a ski trip with a family, and it was spring skiing. We were out in Colorado, and she was around 7 or 8 years old. And the girls, Lindsay and Christine, were in ski school, and Jeannie and I were taking some runs that day. And it was for the people that know Colorado, it's that incredibly bright blue sky, and a gorgeous sunny day. It was our first day of spring skiing. And for those of you who don't know about skiing, when you ride on the chairlift and you get to the top of the tram, where you disembark from the chairlift, there's a chalkboard up there. And the chalkboard, they write your name on the chalkboard if they need to reach you in an emergency. So of course we're coming up to the top of the tram, and there's our name, Mark and Jeannie Thompson. Please come to the ski patrol and collect your and call the ski patrol. So I get off the lift, I go over and I call him up, and the guy says, your daughter Christine's been injured. You brought her down the toboggan. Can you please come to the ski patrol shack at the bottom of the hill and collect your daughter? I thought there was an odd use of a word, to collect her. Well, of course, now this is also the time where I'm thinking, should I invest in some of these these portable paddles that you carry with you for resuscitation, because this was another one of those heart stoppers. So now I say to Jeannie, I'll go down and find out what's going on. So I'm skiing down the hill. Now I'm at the top of the mountain, so this is 12 minutes to get down the bottom hill. And I'm going down the hill skiing, and all this stuff is going through my head. I mean, is there going to be brain damage? Well, is there going to be an amputation? Which limb? Are we going to have time for Coco? I mean, I'm going through all this stuff, and I get down the bottom of the hill, I jump off the skis, I go in the ski shop, and there she is sitting on the counter joking with all the ski patrol guys, and I'm like, oh. So I collect my broken daughter, and we fly off to the Aspen Hospital in a cab. And we get in there, and we're in the doctor's office, and the doctor's examining her. He says, well, she's got some broken ligaments in her thumb, and we can put a cast on there, and then you can get it looked at when you get home. And I thought, well, this is the first day of spring skiing. I said, put a cast on there. I said, a few minutes ago I was worried about brain damage, but now my priorities have started to realign, because it is the first day of spring skiing. At that point in time, Christine pipes up and she says, yeah, Doc, you gotta do something. It's the first day of spring skiing. And I'm saying, yes, that's my daughter. So he puts a cast, builds a ski pole around the cast, and he puts the cast on her. She skied all week, she didn't complain, and I think she skied better with the cast, actually. And it was pretty good. It was kind of hard when you went to bed. You had to be careful, especially if you rolled over. But she skied all week, and it was a great time. So, people have asked me, in closing here, people have asked me how my emotions were going to be tonight. Well, let me tell you that my emotions about Christine and about this wedding, I am at the top of the roller coaster. We are way past tutus tonight, I'm telling you that right now. I'm at the top of the roller coaster, and the reason why I'm at the top of the roller coaster is I'm so excited because she's turned into such a great gal, such a great woman. She's compassionate, she's loving, she's a good listener, she cares about people, and she loves life. And it's for those reasons that I know she is going to be a great wife, a great friend, a great companion, and someday a great mother. I mean, she does have a fabulous role model. So if you would raise your glasses to Christine and Brandon, I hope that you have a great life that's prosperous, full of abundance, love, fun, and that you don't ever forget, as Roger said last night, to always make sure you have a lot of fun in your life. Congratulations.
Much honey.
myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying how they do. They're really saying I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They learn much more than I ever knew. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
All the things you are to me, darling, you have set me free. I'll always give you what you need and what you deserve. All the joy and all this love, I know that it is from above. Now together there's enough.